Hello, everyone. I'm going to go through the quiz that we took back on 921 or so. So I'll go through each question. My screen will always show the correct answer first. That's just the way I created the quiz. But then I choose an option to sort them in random order, so it won't necessarily be the order of the answers that you saw. I won't do questions that pretty much everyone got correct, but I'll try to focus on the ones that some people missed. The first one, a few people missed this one. So Randy puts money in a coffee machine at work. No coffee comes out of the machine. Randy becomes less likely to put money in the machine in the future. It's an example of what behavioral principle? That's extinction, because extinction is withholding reinforcement for a behavior that's previously been reinforced. Some people chose punishment, and that's not correct, because with punishment, you either have the removal of something positive the person already has, or you have the presentation of something that's aversive. And in this case, Randy doesn't have the coffee. If it was negative punishment, then a hand would come out and snatch the coffee away when you put money in it. So the fact that the behavior of putting money in the machine is not reinforced and then decreases over time, that is extinction. Few people miss number two as well. Johnny makes excuses when asked to clean the bathroom. John avoids cleaning the bathroom and is more likely to make excuses in the future. This is an example of which behavioral principle? That's negative reinforcement, because the reinforcer is the avoidance of cleaning the bathroom. Some people chose positive reinforcement. Of course, positive reinforcement would be the presentation of something after he's cleaned the bathroom. Maybe some people were thrown by the fact that the behavior is increasing. I'm not sure. But remember, both positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement are associated with increases in behavior. So the correct answer to this one is negative reinforcement. A few people missed this one. Which of the following is the best example of a behavior definition? Well, let's eliminate the ones that can't be good examples. So Louise is defiant towards her teacher. That's not observable. Defiant is too subjective. Charles goes off whenever he's asked to read out loud. Again, goes off, like defiant, doesn't really specify any particular behavior. It's just an expression that people use to describe a kid's behavior, but it doesn't really tell you what Charles is doing. And then the last one, after returning to the restroom from gym, Lloyd can't sit still. This is a good example of a behavior that doesn't pass the dead man test or the potato test. So can't sit still is not a behavior. So the one that's left is whenever another student answers a question before Sherry, she complains to the teacher that it's not fair. I had my hand up first. You never call on me. Those are specific things that Sherry is saying. So the behavior is her verbal statements that she engages in this particular situation. So that's actually a good definition of a behavior, because it gives you some positive examples of what to record. The other three simply can't be definitions of behavior because they don't meet our requirement. Number four. So number four, we're looking at the outcome of a student's behavior. The really correct answer, or the correct answer, is permanent product recording. For this one, I also counted frequency recording. And I did that just as a hoping that you'll learn from this, because permanent product frequently gets missed. But always think, if I don't observe the behavior occurring, yet I can go in and see what the behavior produced and count that, that's permanent product recording. For frequency recording, you would have to watch the person doing the behavior and then make a tally mark every time it occurred. And if the job was folding pizza boxes, I wouldn't have to watch the person fold every single box. I could simply go in the room when they finished and count the number of boxes they folded. This one I think everybody got right. So it's clearly duration recorded, because you're looking at how long the behavior occurred. I don't think anyone missed this one. This one I think everybody got right too. The parents, well, we'll go through it anyway. When parents or teachers react to inappropriate behavior by offering the student various items or activities until the inappropriate behavior stops, they risk increasing and maintaining the inappropriate behavior with, and that's positive reinforcement. This one is a little tricky, admittedly, because the behavior stops when the person gets what they wanted, and that's actually a post-reinforcement pause. Anytime you engage in a behavior to get something, when you get the item or the attention or whatever it was you were after, the behavior stops momentarily. But it's telling you that the risk is increasing or maintaining this behavior over time. So you've got an increasing behavior, and you're told that when the behavior occurs, something is presented, like various items or activities. So it's telling you basically this is positive reinforcement definition here. And the fact that the behavior momentarily stops is one of the reasons that people sometimes fall into that trap of reinforcing inappropriate behaviors. But you're told a behavior increases. That rules out extinction and it rules out punishment. Then you're left with positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. And you can see from this statement that something is being presented and not removed. So that leaves you with positive reinforcement. Stimulus that sets the occasion or signals for behavior, that's discriminative stimulus. I think everybody got that right. This one a few people missed. A teacher gives an extra reading assignment and the students complain, that's the behavior, that it's too hard. So the behavior is the complaining of the students. That's important. The teacher then decides to cancel the assignment, removes a consequence. On the next day, the teacher starts to give another extra reading assignment and the students complain again. The behavior increases. This is an example of, well, you had a lot of hints in parentheses there. So you're told what the behavior is, the complaining of students. You're also told that this behavior increases. So right away, you can eliminate negative punishment and positive punishment. That leaves you with negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement. Then you have to ask the question, is the consequence the presentation or something or the removal of something? Well, you're told that something is removed and the assignment actually gets removed or reduced. So that's negative reinforcement. Antecedent stimulus present when the behavior is reinforced is present when the behavior is not reinforced is an S delta. An S delta is a cue or signal in the environment that lets you know that the behavior is not going to be reinforced. An S delta is a cue for extinction. Continuous reinforcement, each occurrence of the behavior. I don't think anybody missed that. This one a few people missed. So George sees a red strawberry. He picks it and eats it. It tastes great. George sees a green strawberry. He picks it, eats it, and it tastes terrible. In the future, George is likely to pick and eat red strawberries and stop eating green ones. This is an example of stimulus control. So a couple of people chose reinforcement. Well, reinforcement is taking place because eating the red strawberries gets reinforced. Eating the green strawberries gets punished because it tastes terrible. So eating green strawberries decreases, eating red strawberries increasing. So reinforcement doesn't capture that. Stimulus control is when you associate a stimulus or cue with the availability of reinforcement for a certain behavior. And you engage in the behavior in the presence of that stimulus, and you're less likely to engage in that behavior in the absence of that stimulus. So in this case, the red strawberry is the SD that indicates that eating the strawberry will result in reinforcement. The green strawberry is not going to result in reinforcement. So you learn to eat red strawberries and not eat green ones, and that's an example of stimulus control. Number 12. Yeah, I think everybody got this right. Simple explanations of parsimonious exclamation, an approach to understanding behavior that attempts to explain all behavior, including private events, is radical behaviorism. I don't think anybody missed that one either. This one a few people missed. Recording a behavior at the end of a specified interval is an example of momentary time sampling. Interval recording is not correct because it's very general. I mean, it's just, there's all kinds of interval recording. There's partial interval, whole interval, and momentary time sampling, to name three, and there's others we haven't even talked about. So that's not a good answer. It's certainly not frequency, and it's not anecdotal. With momentary time sampling, you record whether or not a behavior occurs at the end of an interval. You don't record anything during the interval. With partial interval, you record if the behavior happens at any point in the interval, but it doesn't even say partial interval. It's just a interval recording, and you don't know what, but momentary time sampling fits that perfectly. And the last one, what's the advantage of using intermittent reinforcement? It builds resistance to extinction. I don't believe anybody missed that, but if you look at the other answers, they don't make sense. I don't remember anybody missing that one. I may be wrong, but that is the point of intermittent reinforcement: is the behavior will persist for longer in the absence of reinforcement, and that's why we fade reinforcement once we teach. We start out with continuous reinforcement, and then we move to a intermittent reinforcement schedule that's usually a fixed schedule, fixed ratio, or fixed interval, and then we fade that schedule. We reinforce less frequently, and then we switch to a variable schedule, variable ratio, or variable interval. So that's the quiz. If you have any questions about any specific items, just email me and I'll try to respond to you in email. If not, I will set up a time to talk with you.